reschedule to go to Chicago and see Abe. It was freaking pure magic from the moment I woke up the morning of the trip. It's about a 3.5-hour drive. I got up, lots of double digits. I paid $11.22 at the grocery store, and my arrival time, according to my GPS, was $11.22. And I saw lots of cardinals and a couple of hawks and a crane. And I actually even ran into a Facebook friend that I've never met in the physical. A long time ago, we had actually talked about hooking up and going to see Abe. And then she got kicked off of Facebook, probably for cursing or saying the things that I do. And I haven't been able to be in contact with her for like 6 months or something crazy. And so I walk in and I'm like scoping out the crowd. I was really early, so I knew I would get a good spot. And the middle front was pretty packed. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit the third row. So I go in, I sit down in the third row. I look around to see if there's anyone that I know, and I don't see anyone I know. So I'm just sitting there, just like being in the now, right? Like centering myself, meditating a little bit, and just feeling the energy. It was so cool because, I'm not really a crowd person. I used to be a crowd person, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm not a crowd person. I just don't prefer crowds anymore. Because of the energy, right? Because typically the energy's dense and heavy, Oh, the crowd there was it was a buzz. It was so cool just feeling the energy of all of these high vibration individuals. We were all getting ready to be ready, right? So I'm sitting there, minding my own business, and I look over and I see Lynn is her name. And I looked at her and I thought, hell no, I am not looking at Lynn. And I looked and we made eye contact and I was like, Lynn, okay, this was a large conference room. There were probably at least 20 to 30 rows of chairs. There were at least 500 people there. And not only did we go to the same Abe event, but she came over and literally sat right next to me. Now, what does that tell you about the quantum field? We were tuned in, turned on, and tapped in. Is that how it goes? I always say it wrong, but something to that effect. Like we were both in the flow, like all of us were in the flow. And so she came right over and sat right next to me. That is freaking magical. And it was such a beautiful experience just to be there in that energy, to experience her in person. And, like you see on YouTube, hot seat. She basically from the very beginning calls someone up to be in the hot seat, and then it just snowballs, the fun unfolds. And it was really, really cool. It was very touching, very emotional. It was just so fun. So sitting through the conference, my drive was 3.5 hours. The conference was, I don't want to call it a conference, the shindig, okay, we'll call it a shindig, was 4 hours. And then I had a 3.5-hour drive home. And so, it's segment of refreshment, right? Like it's a great time for a segment of refreshment. So about every hour and a half, we would stop. So there were maybe 3 breaks. And I just go outside and get grounded a little bit, come back in and tune back in. So I get done with the conference. I'm flying high, like on my high flying disc in my vortex. And I get in the car and I'm like, okay, Abe keeps it simple, right? Like we humans really like to complicate life, don't we? Like what manifestation exercise do I need to do? What healing work do I need to do? Which chakra do I need to tap in today? And I'm not saying that stuff isn't important, because it is important, but if you're struggling, babe, you get to go back to basics. And what are basics? Emotions. The basics are your emotional guidance system, right? How am I feeling? What are your emotions for? Your emotions are your indicator that either you are in alignment with what your soul, higher self, inner being feels about you, or you're not. And when you're not, how do you feel? You feel like shit. You feel like shit because it's not your truth. Anytime you feel like shit, you know you're out of alignment with the truth that is you, your divine truth. And so you get to find a way to feel better, right? Find a way to feel better. Shake your ass, clap your hands, beat a drum, listen to some frequencies, go outside and hug a tree, but find a way to feel better. And usually, the times that you want to do it the least are the times that you need it the most. So just find a way to feel better if in doubt. You don't have to feel great, right? Because you can't get from there to there. But you can find a way to feel better and climb that emotional scale. And so after we get done, I'm like, okay, I'm taking it back to basics because Monica's been overcomplicating shit. So I get in my car and I'm like, all right, I'm going to ride this wave. I'm going to allow the grid to fill in. So I get in my car and I'm like, all right, what does my inner child want to do? This is where the download comes in. My inner child wants to listen to Prince. I mean, I love Prince, but he's not my first pick usually. But I was connected, right? And that's another thing Abe says is, what are you connected to when you are receiving the messages, right? Are you tuned in to divine knowledge? And I was on that disc. And so I'm driving and I'm just like, okay, I knew I was going to turn my music up, roll my fucking windows down, and let my hair blow and sing. And so I said, inner child, what do you want to listen to? Boom, Prince. Okay, we're going to listen to Prince. I'm cool with that. So I put on Prince, cruising down the road, just being in the now moment, just really feeling the feeling of like joy, excitement, fun, these high vibration feelings, love, like loving myself, because that is where the power is. Love thyself. Okay. And so I'm driving, having a great time. And then I start thinking, and what I say to myself is, well, this is great, but like, what about the shadow work? And what about my inner child? And my heart is like, stop it. Do not overthink this. And listen what comes through. Are you ready? Every time that you choose to find a way to feel better, every time that you choose to have fun, you are healing your shadow. Your shadow is your inner child. The inner child that was not empathized with, that was not properly loved, and that didn't get to have fun because they were too damn busy being an adult as a child, because they were forced to do it for whatever reason. And so, yes, it gets to be that simple if you choose to let it be that simple. Every time you find a way to feel better, that you choose fun, you choose to allow your inner child to explore, to dance, to live, you are actively healing your shadow. Just in finding a way to feel better. It sometimes can just be awareness. We don't have to overcomplicate it. We don't have to pay people thousands of dollars to heal our inner child for us. It gets to be awareness. Okay, now before I go, I want to share one more thing with you. And this is with regard to up-leveling and resistance. Have you noticed that any time that you move to up-level in your life, that many times there is some level of resistance that attempts to come in? Can I get a in the comments? or get a hand raised in the comments if this has happened for you. Every time, why does this happen? What do you think? It is my belief, which I don't really claim to know anything, okay? Like my humble opinion, because we are all living our own truth. That our bodies, this primitive part of our brain, okay, this is neurology, right? Wants to keep us safe. And because it is our primitive brain, if we are not being chased by a tiger, if we are able to eat and drink water, life is good, right? Even if you're in a really shitty marriage, a really shitty relationship, or you're not making any money, I mean, you're still safe, right? You're not being chased by a tiger. And so your body says, you're good. There's no reason to up-level. You are safe, you are healthy, you're good. Just stay where you are. And so when you go to reach or expand, up-level, something might manifest in an attempt to hold you back. And this is not anything happening outside of yourself. Do you claim radical responsibility for creating your reality? We are manifesting this bullshit ourselves, right? Our subconscious, that part of you that wants to stay where you are because we don't want to be seen, because maybe we're a fucking witch when we were burned at the stake, right? There's power in invisibility. All of these different components of this life or another life can come in and try to slam the brakes on. But guess what? It can be as simple as awareness, bringing awareness to it. So for example, I have a friend who is coming into business with me, and she's going through the process, learning about the business. And it's a simple process, but she's having some tech issues with it. She has manifested a situation to hold her back from up-leveling because this is a massive up-level. And so my advice to her was, laugh, smile, recognize it as a releasing of resistance, and move through it with grace. That's what we get to do. But it's a choice, right? It's a choice. And so my personal experience with this of recent is, this is where I am. I feel this massive unshedding, this like new layer of expansion for myself in many ways. And I have this resistance around doing the thing that is my passion, that is my zone of genius. Like this, whether you believe it or not, this is my zone of genius. I am a creator. I love to run my mouth. I love to like just speak about what's on my heart, because I know that I am inspired based on someone's need. We are only inspired based on the needs of others and ourselves. But this is how inspiration comes, because there is a need. Someone needs your message. Someone needs the gift, whatever it is that you have to offer the world. Divine inspiration is born of desire of those around you. And so I'm having this resistance around like committing to going live every day. But it's bullshit. It's not my truth, because once I start doing this, then I don't want to stop. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where it's like the thought of doing something is not pleasing, but then once you begin, it's like, oh wow, this is awesome. I want to do this all day. Sometimes I feel like that in the morning, where I get up and I'm like, oh geez, I don't really want to do the day. But then I start doing the day, and the damn day's amazing. And so it's like intentionally waking up with the childlike wonder in the morning. You know how your kids like pop out of bed and they're like, I'm ready to go. And you're like, how are you up so quickly? They're excited about life. Like we get to get excited about life again. And to bring it back around to my message in the beginning, it's all about finding a way to feel better. And the more that we train our brain and our body to do this, to move through the resistance, the easier it becomes, because we are constructing new neural pathways, neural pathways in our brain. And as we construct these new pathways and they myelinate, they get really strong, we are actively deconstructing the pathways that do not serve us. We are calling in matching experiences, just like as we actively deconstruct relationships in our lives, we are actively making room to construct new, healthy relationships, because we are the company we keep, right? So be mindful of the company that you keep, of the thoughts that you think, of the feelings that you feel. Because all of these cooperative components are creating your reality. And do what you love, do what inspires you. Even if you have to build it in the pockets of your time.